then, all right, how? What started it? There must have been a point at which quite suddenly, like God, you chose to make the world like that.
I was going to use that illustration. That's what I did. Because, as I've said elsewhere, I think that if you wish to push me back into what semi-theological or philosophical back, I think because being made by a creator, one of our natural faculties is wishing to create. But since we aren't creators, we have to sub-create. Let's say we have to rearrange the primary material in some particular form which pleases us, which it isn't necessarily a moral pleasing, it's partly an aesthetic pleasing.
Then you make this distinction between what pleases aesthetically because it's balanced and what pleases morally. God, we may assume, made a moral rather than an aesthetic choice.
That
is this too great an assumption?
It's one which required a very long time to debate, but I should have thought that we are dealing with something which we're only looking at facets of one whole, but certainly an aesthetic whole is surely. An aesthetic facet is as strongly to be predicated as a moral one.
In this world that you yourself have made, the complexities that exist mostly, it seems to me, outside the creatures of the world. There is an absolute evil and there is an idea of absolute good. Would you agree? Mordor, after all, is a principle of absolute evil.
I don't believe in absolute evil, but I do believe in absolute good.
Yes.
Let's say,
If you don't believe in absolute evil, why did you create the Dark Lord, who seems to be the apotheosis of it?
But he said in the book that he himself was not evil to begin with.
Ah, he fell. Then, like Lucifer.
Yeah.
So you're...
Well, he's several stages down from Lucifer.
You do believe, then, that there can be a state of absolute good from which most people do fall?
It said, for instance, there's no religion in the book. There isn't, for reasons which are partly aesthetic, partly auctorial, and partly the history. This book, so-called Lord of the Rings, comes at the end of a long series of stories I've created in which the situation would be explained. Why there were no, for instance, churches, rituals, and temples, and so on.
Yes, but sure, to read into the book a kind of allegory of the H-bomb. What is said somewhere in the book is that the One Ring is a power so enormous that even if a good man were to use it against a bad, it would corrupt the good man.
But that is the thing which other people have arrived, other viewers, other people arrived at long before the H-bomb was invented. Also, I may say that I began building the stories in which the Dark Lord when I was an undergraduate. They were already in an advanced stage. During the First War, the H-bomb hadn't been heard of.